I found for me when I was doing that and when I was doing kind of the over exercising and the macros and, oh, I can eat all this with this many
Yeah.
macros.
Yep.
So I can just take it down another 300 calories and still feel
Yeah.
satiated. And when I look back on those pictures to what you were saying too, when I was the leanest, I felt the worst about my body, which
that
is so
wild?
interesting because you're just so focused on this goalpost and just kicking the can down the field, and you keep moving it.
Yeah.
And for me, like, it was just nitpicking, like, well, if I knock it down another 200 macros,
It's crazy.
then I can like lean out, and it's just, but I didn't think it was anything bad at that time.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear your journey with it.
It's looked different throughout different times in my life. If anyone listening wants to hear like the full thing, that article is pretty inclusive. Although I feel like it just skims, because how do you sum up 10 years in 2,000 words, right? But basically, like every millennial woman, I was bombarded with diet culture bullshit from before I could walk and talk, and you're inundated with how a woman is supposed to be or not be. And I do feel like there's such a huge travesty because it's like, I remember feeling so insecure. And the first things I was insecure about was like not being a woman. Like I was flat chested. I didn't have my period yet. Like I was like not, like I had this panic. It's like, hurry, 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 become a woman. And then the second you are, hurry, anti-aging everything. And it's like, when is a woman allowed to thrive? Like it, and I feel like with my personal disordered eating history, to be, frank, a lot of that, and is the story with a lot of women, it's not actually having to do, although it can be aided with diet culture and obviously weight loss and stuff, it's a lot deeper than that. For me, I experienced something called scrupulosity, which is religious OCD. And looking back and looking across my whole story, I can very clearly see how my disordered eating habits, especially in the beginning, and when they were a couple of the times they were the worst, it was spurred by this need to be perfect for God. And that's a whole other topic that we don't have to get into. But I think the point is that so many people struggle with disordered eating because it comes down to a sense of control. When so much in life feels out of control, it's like, wow, that's the one I can control what I put in my mouth. And you assign yourself, so like flash forward, right? I had kind of healed from all of that stuff. And then it's 2019 and I didn't do the same things that I did back then. So I didn't think I was having disordered eating anymore, but I had become so obsessed with macros that it was like to the gram every day. And if I blew it, then I would just like binge because I was like, well, whatever, I'll start again tomorrow. And again, it's just so hard to see when you're in it. And also so many disordered eating habits are actually praised and exceptionally normalized in our culture. So speaking about food as good or bad, or like, oh, I'm being good, or, oh, I was so bad, if you ate this or that, rewarding yourself for certain behaviors with food or punishing yourself or like binging, like lots of these things are normalized or laughed at. And I think so many women would be maybe surprised to do some self-reflection. Like if you go to like the Butterfly Foundation, that's the Australian version, or there's a lot in the US that are really good for disordered eating. We should link some actually in the show notes, but you can go and take essentially these like quizzes. And I remember doing this when I was recording a podcast episode once, and I was just crying. I was like, I had no clue that I was struggling that much at so many different periods of my life because I just thought it was normal. And so I think I've always said since I've started my career that there is nothing that is as unhealthy for you that you could eat as shaming yourself for eating. And for me, I just feel stronger and stronger about that because at the end of the day, yes, it's important to fuel your body well and eat nutrients and eat plants. And, you and I both have talked to so many experts about all the different things and why. But I do feel like on a very base level, like underneath all of that, your mental health matters the absolute most. And yes, like your gut health affects your mental health and all of that we know is related. But for women especially, if you're at a place in your life where your relationship with food is at all tied to your self-worth as a human, that healing that has to come before anything. And it's so hard. It's hard to like accept it, to realize it, and to move through it, but you can if you become aware. And so I just, unfortunately, like studies show disordered eating is on the rise. It's not been getting better. It's been getting worse with the next generation. And that breaks my heart. And so I just want to, I feel very passionate about being vocal about these things, raising awareness for disordered eating and eating disorders just for that, because awareness, I really think, is the key.